Fate decided.
Let's get this party started.
Craving something scary.
Hello, Sydney.
Killjoy G.
Don't you swear at me, you little shit! Don't you ever raise your voice at me! I am your mother!
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
The collective has spoken.
Yeah, baby, you know it happened. What's up? What's up, everyone? Lethal Collective time, and we are at 50% capacity. Killjoy Jake and me holding it down as we wait for Steven and Fate Decided. How's it going, man?
It's going good. We're just lethal this afternoon. Not quite the collective, but we're it's something.
What was that odd name that someone called us? They called us the something imperative, something. It was in your chat.
Oh,
or in your
man.
Discord, I think it was.
Yeah. It was so funny too. We were cracking up about it. Lethal collection or lethal. I can't remember. It was slightly wrong, and it was just kind of funny. It was like, oh man, that's great. Erica might know. Erica may. Yeah.
She probably
Lethal
does.
Detective. We're the lethal detectives.
Wow, who would have thought, man? We made it. We're getting paid to be detectives. All right.
We need different hats though. That's the problem.
I know, man. We're totally not in uniform here. For you, for you guys that are here, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. As we continue our year-long tour and switching from channel to channel tonight, being here, and again, we'll have our other two comrades here shortly. We're gonna have a really interesting conversation, and I just wanted to throw out this real quick. I will definitely let you guys know when we start talking about spoilery type of stuff with weapons. So for anyone that has seen it, please in the chat, make sure that you don't put any spoilers in there because there might be some people that have not seen it, and we don't want to spoil it for those folks. But we're hoping to have a really interesting conversation about weapons, but also how it kind of stands as a symbol of modern horror, and how modern horror kind of pairs against the oldies, the legacy franchises such as, wait for it, Scream. You know what I'm saying? So, and I've always wondered, what other people think about that. So anyways, let's see who we have in here. We've got the Wig Master, Julie, hanging out there. What's going on? Good to see you, Julie. For the love of horror, Erica, holding it down as always. We got RJ. Scream is the better horror for me night. Well, there we go. The first shot is fired. And we have a lot of people that feel that way, and I know on your channel for sure, Jake, I'm sure you see a lot of folks that are definitely diehard OG fans of franchises like Scream.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. I think there's something to be said about something that stood the test of time. You know what I mean? Weapons is fresh. It's the new kid on the block, but will it be the flavor of the week? I think that's the big question. And something I'm really excited to get into in today's little chat.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got Erica making an interesting comment saying these are two different types of horror movies. Comparing them doesn't work for many reasons. I doubt we will get 7 weapons movies. That's true. One is witchcraft. The other is a serial killer type. Well, there we go. All right.
We may get 2 though, Knight. I don't know if you've heard about the prequel talks.
Yes. And you know what's so funny? Because, and this will be the last thing I say about it. When I was watching it, about halfway through it, being mesmerized by that character, and I was thinking, dude, that right here, this is John Kramer. You know what I'm saying? And it's so funny because I was thinking to myself, okay, we won't get into that. But anyways, all right, look.
I can read your mind though. I'm like, oh man, I know right where he's going with that.
Yeah. Real quick, we've got our good buddy Steven in the back, so let's bring him on. You guys know him, you guys love him, the godfather of Woodsboro, Steven from Craven Something Scary.
Hey, gentlemen. Good to see you again this week.
Yeah.
Good to see you, dude.
Yeah, sorry I need to be off camera, everybody watching in the chat. But it won't be forever. I promise you that. Hopefully next week you'll be back. And you know what? You might would want to rather see this picture here anyway. So maybe I'm doing you a favor.
Oh, come on now.
Just teasing.
There you go.
But just in case you're wondering, why is he on camera? Well, there's a good reason. Hang tight. I will be back.
There you go. All
So
right.
where are we? Now I heard a little Windows talk backstage, so I missed the beginning. Till I came on backstage. So
Yeah, we haven't
what's the plan?
we haven't started talking officially about weapons, but we will get ready to since you're here.
Thank
And
you.
Yeah, and we know our good friend Fate will be joining us soon. Let me just
Yeah.
also say real quick, a shout out to Scott. What is up? Good to see you, man, and thank you so much for the kind messages. And Scott joined the channel memberships, and wow, man, that's always
Excellent.
such a cool thing and a kind and generous thing. So thank you so much, brother, for being here. We appreciate you. And also a blanket hello to everyone else in the chat. We see you guys, and we thank you for being here with the Lethal Collective. So we are going to get ready to talk about weapons, and we will get into spoilers. I'm pretty sure it'll not be the first couple things we say, but if you have not seen the movie, this is your official warning. So we will be getting into spoilers about the movie Weapons. All right, gentlemen. Steven, let me start with you because you're the person that's seen it the most recent. What are your overall thoughts of the movie?
Oh man, like I texted you guys with wow. This is a fantastic horror movie. This is like legit horror movie, and not that the others aren't, but you in this movie and the way it ends and everything. We'll get into that later, but just the tone and the feel and the execution and the story. When you look at the whole story and you see it unfolding and you understand why later, I'm like, this is a haunting horror movie. This is like I'm trying to think of something I can describe it to, man. It's like, it feels new. It feels original and something fresh. I think this is maybe one of the freshest horror films of the last couple years, at least. So overall, I loved this film. Was it perfect? No. And I had some things I'd like to have seen different, but overall, I absolutely love this movie. And I got to watch it again. I need a second watch.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's it, man. Yep.
Very cool. Jake, how about you, man?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna echo Steven a lot here. I just loved this movie, dude. I think I see a lot of good movies every year that we'll talk about on the page all the time, but this was really something original. Like this was something I feel like I don't see all the time, and that's what had me really excited about this. It goes so many different places. It kind of takes, beginning of this movie kind of hits on like the initial mystery, the intrigue that you've all seen in the trailers, but then it kind of throws you into something else in the middle of this movie that I think is just as exciting and weird and tension, anxiety inducing, which I'm sure we'll dive into a little later. But I really liked where this movie ultimately ended up going. Is it a big, Ghostface taking off the mask style reveal? No, it's not necessarily done like that, but every single storyline and vignette we go through, I think we get like another piece of the puzzle. And in its own unique way, I think that is just as exciting, but just something totally different also as well, which I liked. It was just a very special and unique formula that really worked for this movie. And I just cannot wait to see what Zach Cregger does next, man.
Well said. Yeah, I went to the theater, the whole family, and I'm sitting there. Number one, I knew that it had to have some type of effect because both of the kids were paying attention to it, and they enjoyed it. So that was like, whew, like when does that ever happen? You know what I mean? So that was big. But man, I just felt myself engulfed by the story and the mystery. I mean, how is this thing? Where is this thing specifically going? And it was kind of like a snake shedding its skin, because it starts to go into some directions and you start thinking, oh, okay. And then it goes a little bit here and oh, okay. And then it's like, whoa, and I really liked the way that Zach crafted this film. One thing that I found out that was really cool, I did a video on it just recently, a Why You Hate. David Fincher helped with some ideas and advice and little, hey, I think you could do this and do that. And I absolutely love David Fincher. So, but it also shows that Zach he's still learning and still willing to learn and better his craft. And you can see that in the way this story is told. It's like you said, Steven, and you, Jake, this is a horror movie, and it's really at its core. I mean, the story itself is just like, oh my God, these kids. I mean, the families, the parents. You see the tension and the anger and frustration with the adults and the parents and so forth. So many things that were happening, and then you also have this weird ass character that it just, for me anyways, just magnetizes you. Just like I'm mesmerized by the performance. So it really covered a lot of bases for me, and I absolutely enjoyed it. Just like, wow. Like you said, Stephen, like, wow. In the text message,
Yeah.
Stephen was like, wow. So it was just same thing here. Real quick too, I just want to say thank you. We got Johnny coming in with a super chat, $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Saying happy Monday, Lethal Collective. I like that. It's almost like a tagline.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. We appreciate that. Seriously.
Thanks, Johnny.
Yeah. So that's kind of our general thoughts. Stephen, how about, I was telling Jake, what I want to also do is talk more about weapons, of course, and also kind of use that as the symbolism of modern horror and how it pairs with our classics, our franchises such as Scream and what we're expecting for Scream 7. When you watch a movie like this, Stephen, the feeling that you get from it, do you I mean, we just saw, and I'm not trying to start any, we don't have fate here, but so I think we'll be okay, but I'm not trying to start any like, whatever, but like when you watched Scream 5 and Scream 6,
yeah,
what was the feeling like, as far as when you were watching Weapons and the feeling that you had when you were watching like Scream 5 or 6?
Yeah, completely different.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, this is categorically to me, this is a category. Hang on a second. Words are hard. For me, this is a categorically different film. It's horror. Like I said, this is like, I don't know how else to say it. This is like real horror. If you want to watch and again, that's not I can't say it without sounding bad to other movies. It's just, this is unique. This is a very original story. I felt nothing like when I watched Scream because, at night, I'm glad I texted you. Remember, before I watched it, I said, hey, I've heard it's a mystery element. I said, don't tell me anything. I didn't watch the trailers. I was as blind as you could be. And you texted me back and you said, there is a mystery, but not like a whodunit mystery. And so that I appreciated that because that helped me go into it knowing it's something different. It's not going to be like a Scream, Hard Eyes, Thanksgiving kind of movie.
Right.
I don't consider this a slasher movie. I consider it all. This is a supernatural film as I would say. Supernatural horror. It's not sci-fi. It's supernatural horror. So the feelings were much different for me on this than in that comparison you gave me. Partly because I knew from you it wasn't a whodunit. But it kind of was if at the end, at the midpoint, as Jake said, the midpoint, it turned into a little whodunit. And that's one of the things I want to say about this later after spoilers, because I want to see if there's ever a sequel to this. I would rather see that. Let me say this carefully. I would rather see what we saw at the middle point where things become clear at the very end. Like spend the whole movie while trying to guess what's behind it. You know what I'm saying? That's all I can say without starting spoilers. So
Yeah. Yep.
yeah,
Gotcha.
man.
Very cool.
Yeah, that'd be my
All right.
response.
All right, Jake, how about you, man? As far as just the feeling you had watching a movie like this, and of course, I mean, our favorite, one of our favorite franchises ever.
Well, I feel like when you're watching a sequel, it's just a different vibe than going into an original. Like, I think I have expectations for a new Scream movie where something like Weapons, I'm just going in with an open mind, just seeing what this thing is going to do. And I think there's an excitement about an original horror movie that I think you don't get from a sequel. But also there's things from a sequel that it's like, oh, I'm excited that we're getting another one of these. That was so exciting such a long time ago. So I think I watch sequels and original movies differently, but Weapons especially was one that just kind of like, it grips you from the beginning. I mean, like the first shot, and you are on this roller coaster until the end.
Yes.
I think something I just especially loved about this is that it's a movie that's broken up in a ton of different vignettes following a bunch of different characters, and I don't feel like there's a weak link in the entire bunch. That's a tough thing to do. When we're talking about Scream on this page, I feel like we're always talking about how it doesn't seem like they can get a focal point right with some of the new movies. Doesn't feel like they went all in on some of the new characters, which is maybe why we feel that they're kind of lackluster. What was cool about this movie is you had like 5 or 6 very rich characters that we followed in different little vignettes, all in this town, kind of pushing this one story. And there's just not a weak link in the entire chain, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Everybody adds something to push this thing forward and make it feel consequential, but they also have their own like personalities and flavor. And I was reading about Zach Krager when he was writing this movie, talking about it was influenced by a personal loss of his. I hate to speculate, but it might have been Trevor Moore from The Whitest Kids You Know, his whole comedy troupe from back in the day. I think you can kind of break down all these characters as different emotions you would have facing loss or facing some sort of tragic event, like a bunch of kids going missing in the middle of the night for no reason whatsoever. It's just this awful, horrible, tragic thing that happened for something that nobody can really explain. And there's all these different characters motivated by different things surrounding the tragedy, which I think is what makes it so interesting and what kind of brings the story together in really unexpected ways. But man, I don't know. It's just such a unique film in terms of formula. It's not only a good original idea, but the way that it's structured, I think, is also just so unique. This movie could have been about anything. Just being told in the way that it was, I was in. Like, it could have been about literally anything. I was there for it. And I don't know. I really loved. I loved all the characters. I loved how fucking weird this one gets. I was terrified at the end of what's her name? Oh my god, it's killing me now.
Gladys?
The Julia Garner's character.
Oh, Gandy. Justine.
Yeah, Justine Gandy.
Yeah.
Dude, the end of her little vignette when when the chick comes out with the scissors. Oh my god, that's one of the scariest things in a horror movie all year. Like probably the scariest scene in a movie all year. I don't know. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, you know what was really cool about that scene too, and Zach has shown that he is fine with this. He took his time. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't cheap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that, at least for me, and I guess for you guys too, obviously, I appreciate that. Really get us into that moment. Like there was absolute dread in that moment, and he let that tension just play out. It wasn't, quick and boom, or maybe it could have been a type of thing where that character had the scissors and kind of walked, and then the camera moved somewhere else, and then it turned back and boom, they were there. Quick jump scare and make you say but it doesn't last. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make you think about it after the film is done. That scene and a couple others, I was thinking about that when we were driving home. I was like, man, it's so simple, but it was so good. And
exactly,
I just think that, with filmmakers like himself, it's, to me, I think horror is got a bright future. I really do, because he's shown that he wants to tell a story. He wants a foundation for the horror. And, and as much as we can enjoy, films that have a lot of, bang for their buck, or maybe a lot of practical work or gore or whatever, and that's fine, and it has its time for that. But a movie like this, it just kind of like it sets with you for a long time, because the story, like you guys have already said, which I totally echo, the story is told so well, and the characters had arcs. Like, and again, I'm not trying to sound negative, because I love Scream. You guys know that, and I still
Oh yeah.
have a lot of fun with even 5 and 6. But one thing we talked about was, having time for the characters to kind of matter, for them to have some weight. And here you go in a movie like this, where you have these multiple characters, and the stories are told, different perspectives, and a lot of it intersects at different times, but they're not even together, like in one big scene all together, like we had in Scream. And yet, I understood these characters very well. That's great storytelling, to me. So, anyways, the movie, it's just amazing. So, look, let's get into some bigger things. Let's talk about Gladys real quick. And I also want to say, for you guys in the chat, thanks for being here, for you guys jumping in. We do see you guys. And also, I just want to say, just condolences to Samantha. I just saw your message in the chat. So I'm very sorry to hear that. And we hope that, being here tonight with us and this wonderful community helps to bring a little bit of light to your day. Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Our condolences.
Our condolences for sure. So sorry.
Yep. Absolutely. Steven, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. What do we think of Gladys? I mean, like, we gotta talk about Gladys.
And this is the teacher, right? I'm making sure I got my names right, because I'm terrible with names.
Gladys is the antagonist.
The antagonist. Oh gosh, she's a trip, dude. I will never forget first time we see her in the principal's office, right?
Yeah.
And I noticed, and I know this was done on purpose. Because are we talking spoilers, or can we cut loose? Or we're
going into spoilers officially, like big spoilers.
I wanted to make sure. Okay.
Yep.
So I noticed right away when she walked in and sat down that she had a wig on. It was and I think they actually pulled it back more to make it very clear that there's something going on with this woman from the very time we see her first time. And I'm like, okay, so she's probably, either she likes to change her wigs, when some women do, different hair, or she is sick. To me, that was the only two options I thought of. And so, but I'm listening to her, and she's like, because the principal wants the parents, obviously, for this meeting. And they go back and forth. It gets pretty, not heated, but it gets pretty, I guess heated. I guess I'll just say a little heated. And then finally, she's like, I don't remember her words, but basically she got real angry, and she's basically saying they will not be able to come, blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, please let them know I have to see them. That's our first time seeing her. And like, oh, there's an aunt here. I didn't know that at this point in the movie, And as we learn about her, and I won't go too long, but as we learn about her in the movie, she's an evil woman. This is about as evil of a human being that I think I've seen in a very long time. I mean, evil. She's pure evil. Not to take away Michael Myers' line, but from Donald Pleasance. But I'm telling you, I said, oh, this is just bad. There's nothing but evil in this woman, to the point that she's willing, because we're going spoilers. I'm not holding back there. To the point that she's willing to kill like 7 or 10 children to help herself, to try to extend her life. I'm like, what is this? That's how bad this woman is. And then, so, and that poor boy, the poor son,
right? I
know we're going to get to him tonight. I don't want to jump ahead, but when you understand the pressure he's under, you understand why he didn't tell anybody. I understood it. I didn't hold it against him.
Yep.
I really did, especially being that young.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I want to mention real quick. Last thing I'm going to say, not about Gladys, but about the movie flow, like Jake mentioned a minute ago. The way this movie starts, it seems you're going one path.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got one path where I'm rolling with it. Let's go with the teacher. We're going to figure the same. This poor boy is distraught. The son, he's not acting normal. He stays quiet. And then all these kids that have just walked out on video, and I'm digging the investigation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm into that. Like the father, gets involved, from the construction company. And then all of a sudden, they flip the script at the midpoint when we figure out who Gladys is. And then, as Jake said, it turns into this mini, like 5 people or so. You're watching the movie from their perspective, and that connects to the first half of the movie, the events we watched.
Mm-hmm.
And it just connects perfectly, as Jake said. I never felt there was a loss in continuity, anything. And then you see why they acted certain ways that they did. You get it. You see the principal, the poor principal.
I know.
Because we saw him running after her, remember, and the gas station, and the truck, the construction guy, helped her get away. Anyway, I'm all over the map, but I just wanted to comment on that the one thing. I was like, okay, it says, Gladys, or not Gladys, but whoever the other characters are. I'm sorry with names, and I loved that they did that. It was so cool, so different. And at the end of the movie, it all felt cohesive completely. I think it's brilliant filmmaking. I think it's brilliant brilliant writing. So sorry, that's my hybrid answer. But Gladys, no. Pure evil, bro.
Absolutely, man. Jake, how about you, man? I mean, what are your thoughts on Gladys and anything else you want to throw out?
I think walking out of this movie, I just knew that Gladys was an instant horror icon. I mean, we're already seeing people make these Instagram reels pretending to be her, which I just love. I'm absolutely loving all the people who are like, all the chicken soup is gone at this store. There's my favorite one so far is some guy pretending to play the grocery store clerk in Maybrook. Who's like, this kid comes in every day and buys 25 cans of soup.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so funny, man. Oh my God. But talking a little more about Gladys, instant horror icon, but another big thing that I was noticing the entire time. I mean, obviously I feel like she's a witch, and there's so many clues at that throughout the entire film.
Yes.
But it's never necessarily spelled out. I feel like this movie gives you just enough to tell this story, but doesn't completely go all in on her backstory because it didn't need to. You know what I mean? We don't need to know every little thing about Gladys to explain what's happening here. You just know when she gets that hair around the branch, snaps it, she's in control. And I was talking with my buddies, Dylan and Luke from Splattercast, which I got to give them credit for this, but they were saying, they're like, I think that it's the biggest travesty that we just had somebody do the It movies and it wasn't Zach Krager. There's so much of this movie that is so It and Pennywise inspired with this character. Like, dude, when she's waving in the field to Austin Abrams' character, I'm like, that's so Pennywise, dude. I'm like, oh, it's like, honestly, I would support a reboot of of It just so that I could see Zach Krager do it. That's how good this movie was in terms of influence, and also still standing on its own and doing something original. But Gladys, I think, is such an interesting character because we have a very vague motivation for her as well. Backstory vague, motivation vague as well. But I think what it boils down to is the title of this film: weapons, witch, power. I honestly think it's as simple as something like that. She walks into a room. One of her first big sequences is going to the principal's house after the conversation that happens at his office. And she is sucking the air out of the room, talking constantly, pushing herself into this house, into this situation, and making things happen. She needs to be in control of everyone and everything at all times. And that works so well personality-wise with what she's also doing to this town. She's essentially taking over, and it's, oh my God. I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, it really is just brilliant character writing, character work, and then also placing them in a story where they fit and meet all the different things that they have to do to push this story along. I just, oh my God, that scene in particular, I think is just perfect. Her whole thing, she's like, I want a bowl of water. It's one of my peculiarities. Like, I'm just like, that's iconic. I love you so much, Amy Madigan. Like, you're amazing. But I could just go on and on. Night. I love it. I love this movie. I love this character. There was just so much weird, bizarre things happening that I just immediately fell in love with this movie with.
Yeah. I mean, I'm echoing everything you guys said, so I won't go on too long about it. But I also felt like, man, this is definitely possibly a new horror icon. I mean, you just get wrapped up in what she's doing, what she's saying, and to me, that's the hallmarks right there. And like you guys said, there was just all these moments where it's just you're feeling kind of like uneasy, but yet you're kind of captivated by her. Just like, I mean, she's a witch, right? So it's like it all kind of works, and I just wanted more of it. I remember thinking to myself, man, we got to get more of that. And of course, that's just one aspect. It's a big aspect of the film, but it's just one aspect of the film as far as why I enjoyed it. I mean, look, and I do have an image. I should have put this up earlier. Look at this chick.
Look at this. Wow, someone said she's a trip, dude. Look at that.
Mean, so it wasn't, and the thing of it was, like, it wasn't just like mustache twirling, right? She's got a game plan. She's enacting it. She's showing different sides to her as far as how to manipulate Alex and also his parents and also Marcus, the principal. And I'm just like, man, Amy Madigan, who would have thought that Uncle Buck's girlfriend or whatever would come back?
Oh, that was his girlfriend.
Yes, from Uncle Buck.
Oh my gosh, I love that movie.
Right.
The tire shop, man.
Right. Time flies, Steven.
It does, bro.
Time flies, man. Sometimes people, they end up being a witch. But anyway, but listen, for you guys in the chat, you guys are echoing a lot of the same things, and we really appreciate you guys interacting. We can't see everyone's comment, but we do see you guys talking. We appreciate that. Let me just also just acknowledge we got Johnny coming in. He's got a couple super chats talking about superhero fatigue and horror is on the up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, when you have movies like this that have I believe it was only like a 45% drop in the second week as far as the money it was making, that's just awesome. That's just awesome. Good. And we've had a couple of horror films this year, like Sinners as well, that have been able to show that horror can be very profitable, new horror, new voices and so forth. But Johnny, thank you so much for the super chat, and also saying budget horror can outgross major superhero movies. I agree with that, no doubt about it. And also coming in again saying worth watching in cinema or wait to stream. Whoa. I think it was great in the theater. No, go ahead, Steven.
Oh, I don't want to cut you off, brother.
Well, no, I was just saying we had so many people in that theater that were reacting to this film. We were getting gasps, oohs and ahs, laughter, just interaction, man. And that's so much fun. I mean, I think it's, if you can, definitely watch it however you can. But if you are able to see it in the theater, I think it's a good watch.
I saw the 217 showing like Thursday. Dude, I was in this theater with like 4 other people, and even then people were like clapping and like cracking up. There was like, I mean, just all kinds of just audience reactions, even from 4 people, man. So seeing this in a full theater has got to be a treat.
Agreed.
I echo what Knight said. If you're in a position that you can go to the theater, you've got to go to the theater. Let's support this movie. And when it comes out on streaming, buy this movie. Buy this thing. That's what I'm going to do, and support it there as well. This is, in my opinion, I usually don't give such a definitive number, but from my perspective, if you're able to, this is a 100% theatrical movie. It's worth it. You will not be disappointed, I don't believe.
Mm.
And hey, real quick, Knight.
Yeah.
Speaking of the comedy, Jake, you talked about, like people were laughing.
Yeah.
Nothing cracked me up more when the son pulled his super smart move and got that hair from Gladys, and he did the procedure. He saw her do it. He knew how to do it, and he did the ritual, and the woman and Gladys heard it like ding. She knew it, and all the kids began chasing after her, and then you see people mowing their yard, and they're looking over, and you hear the woman, and then you hear the kids, in a big group. I was dying in that sequence, dude. It was so funny.
It was, man. It was almost like it was almost like you were able to release your emotion at that point. You know what I mean? Because so much of the film had, a lot of darkness to it. I mean, all of these characters, except for Marcus, the principal, played by Benedict Wong, all of these characters were very flawed and very selfish in their own ways, whether they're dealing with addictions or, maybe not the most, not the greatest parent, and now dealing with that guilt, like Josh Brolin's character. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's like ding dong, the witch is gonna get it, and it was like so cathartic, and this
was.
You know what I love too, guys? This parallels back to old stories like Hansel and Gretel. You know what I'm saying? It's like, the kids, they go through some stuff, but one of those kids, they find a way to make it all go the other way. And what a way to tell a story.
It's great. And then it went super dark when they were literally eating and tearing this woman's body apart. I was like, this is Dawn of the Dead right here.
Yes,
brother.
that's what I said too. I said, this is literally George Romero type of stuff right here. Yes.
I yelled. I literally was just like, oh my God. Like in the theater, I couldn't help it. Like it had to come out. That scene, see, what's great about this is we're laughing at first because of the farce that is the chase sequence through all the different houses, which and just one more little sidebar. I freaking love when you have the lady in the house, Josh Brolin is walking through, and she's like, "There's a man in our house," and he's just like, "Oh my God!" Like this day can't get any worse, But I just love how we're laughing at that. We're mortified by watching these kids rip apart this old woman, and then we're heartbroken as we see Josh Brolin go up to his kid and say, like, "I failed you." Like, I mean, it like pulls at your heartstrings, but it was like so silly a minute ago. That's the brilliance of this movie, how it can hit all these different emotions in succession, and none of them clash.
Right.
It's true.
Yeah.
And I think the writer knew we needed that break. We needed that lift of spirits for just 5 minutes, let's say, whatever it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it did. It let us release. Night was pretty. It let us get that off our chest. All darkness left, and we could process the next stuff. And it was brilliant, man. I don't know what else to say. This is good stuff, guys. This is really, look at her. My gosh.
Beautiful.
I mean, it is beautiful. She looks like a clown. She's just so trippy.
Yeah, I know. When I first saw her, it's so funny, man. I was just like, come on, what are we really doing here? You know what I mean? Just, it just strikes you. It strikes you. And, they were so smart to get an actress that could handle the tone the right way, because this could have fallen off the rails, or at least that character could have fallen off the rails a little bit, if done incorrectly. But Amy she hit a home run with it. She really did. Kudos to her.
And this is the Barbarian director, right? Isn't that right? Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
yeah, baby.
This
guy is awesome. Listen, people can say what they want about, especially in Barbarian, when we take the left turn. I know some folks aren't super big on that. I was, but I'm just enjoying watching these movies where I have no clue where the hell we're going. I'm on a ride, and as long as I can enjoy it for the most part, I'm stoked as a horror fan. I mean, all three of us, we've been watching horror movies for decades, man. It's like, it's great to still be surprised,
Yes.
I think the brilliance of this and Barbarian is that he's able to set up like this really intriguing like mystery or like just this insane series of events, throw you into something else, and you might be frustrated because you wanted to go back to that other thing. But this new thing is also very interesting. Like Justin Long, everything that's happening with him, it's immediately engaging because you're like, what? What's happening with this dude right now? And it's the same thing here in this movie with Alden Ehrenreich and Austin Abrams. Because I'm just like, oh my, like, dude, what's going on? Like, he just hit the needle and all, you know, when he accidentally grabs that, it's like, as a germaphobe dude, I was stressed out. I was like, oh no.
Right. Yeah, man. Just some really cool stuff. So guys, listen, this is what we're gonna do. First of all, this was a lot of fun, and I definitely could keep talking about it, but we also want to bring in our good friend Fate Decided, who has not seen it yet. So we're gonna cut the spoiler talk. We'd appreciate that for everyone, just to kind of be respectful of our good friend. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of pivot a little bit with Weapons kind of being a symbol of modern horror and kind of talking about, you know, what do we think about modern horror? There are a lot of folks that enjoy it, you know, and a lot of folks are like, no, you know, give me my classics, my old school stuff any day, all day, over it, which is fine, you know. And there are some things that, I love old school films, you know, but I also really am enjoying a lot of these newer modern horror from these new visionaries, especially within the last decade. So we'll get ready to bring Fate on. We'll talk about that. You guys in the live chat, let us know, you know, what you think. Are you a big fan of, you know, the modern horror films that have come out like within the last decade or so? Or are you just one of those folks that you love what brought you here? You know, the legacy franchises like Scream, like a Halloween or Child's Play or any of those. I think that's a really interesting conversation. And I've asked this on social media and on community posts from people before, and it always amazes me how it kind of goes back and forth, you know, and a lot of times people usually err towards old school stuff that is known. Let me throw it to you guys first. Jake, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on that as a huge Scream fan that you are, but also being very big on these modern horror films? How do you see that dynamic playing out?
Well, I think every generation has their hits and misses. You know, I think a lot of people are nostalgic for time periods like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, but realistically, they had their misses too. You know, like it's so much more fresh here in the 2020s to talk about some of the big stinkers. We have had them. Yeah, no, without a doubt. But there are some bad movies from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s too. The truth of it is, I think every single, when something hits and stands the test of time, it gains something. And right now, none of these movies that are, you know, really special to us now have that yet. You know, I think movies like Sinners or 28 Years Later, maybe even this movie, Weapons, I think we're still going to be talking about them in 10, 20, 30 years. But I don't know that for sure. I don't know what the next 20, 30 years looks like of horror. So it's tough to say. I just think that's a big element to it. And I think that's why it's so easy to say that the 80s were the golden age for horror. Right now, it's definitely one of the best decades for horror. But is that going to change? Are the 2030s are going to be this unbelievable time period where we just get banger after banger? I don't know. But I think once we know how today's classics age, I think that's going to be a big part of it as well, because I still watch the movie Insidious, which was a childhood darling of mine. I watched it all the time. And it was the first movie we watched moving into our new apartment. And I love that movie today just as much as I did the first time I saw it in theaters. When I saw that the lipstick demon behind Patrick Wilson for the first time, I knew I loved this thing. And that one has stood the test of time for me. And I think every generation has that. So it's kind of, it really is, I think someone in the chat said case by case. I think that's such a great way to describe the different decades and years of horror.
Well said, man. Well said. And Steven, hold on one second, because we've got Fate in the back, and I'm going to bring him on and let him jump in and kind of get his thoughts. We got Fate Decided in the house. What's up, man?
Hey, Fate.
What's going on, everyone?
Hey, we're happy to have you, man. Everybody? Doing good.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Hopefully you guys had a good Weapons talk. Sorry I couldn't be a part of that. I hadn't seen it yet, and I didn't want to ruin it for these gentlemen. So I figured you guys go talk about it. I'll be on standby, and then I'll just pop right back in. Trust me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
give these guys a little break before I take over the stream. You know.
Oh, wow. Well, let me ask you this. So obviously you haven't seen Weapons, but when we talk about modern horror in the last decade, what are your thoughts about those films versus like a lot of the legacy, the old classics, like a Scream franchise, or like even things like Final Destination is even 25 years old now. You know what I mean? What do you think about the old classics from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s versus something like these modern films in the last decade?
I mean, obviously, nothing's gonna beat the classics, right? Nothing's gonna beat the original. I mean, that's that's what paved the way for today. It's like the argument like with the original Scream. Is there ever gonna be a Scream movie that's gonna be able to outdo that? So to me, I mean, I can appreciate the decades, right? You think of like the 80s, and you think of like the 50s with some of these like horror films like what was it, Psycho, and some of these other like just paved the way for slasher films in the modern era. So you have these kind of pockets, and I don't mind the pockets. Obviously, there's like the glory days, but also I think it's where you are in age wise. There's people that are traditionalists in the sense of like horror and that appreciate classic horror, but to a lot of people, like my kids growing up are not gonna, they'll be exposed to that horror, but that's plain bagel to them compared to today. You know what I mean? The graphic special effects. So, like I think each generation kind of has their go-to. 80s kids, 70s kids, 90s kids, early 2000s kids all have like their movies that like, they love, I'm a fan of, Amityville Horror, the original, but, I appreciate the remake, right? Like there's things where, I think you have these generations. My thing is like, I want, and you're starting to see, I think, a bit of a resurgence of it, but I want to see the next generation of movies. Right, not previous generation movies reskinned. You know what I mean? Like I want to see like The Weapons, Barbarian, like those kind of things. Like whether I like them or not, I appreciate you taking the effort to go and make a film that is breaking new ground or something different, rather than just like here's I mean, even Scream. Like I don't mind like certain films like Scream, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Like the classics, like, yeah, sure. But like there's some movies that just don't work with sequels or remakes or things like that. I mean, how many different Exorcist movies have we had that haven't been great? Although the third one is kind of a guilty pleasure.
Baby. Yeah. George C. Scott.
Yeah. But point is, like, I want, like, fine. If you want to do, Nosferatu, like, fine, do that. But like, can we also get a Weapons? Can we also get, a Barbarian? Can we also get whatever? Like Barbarian's kind of, like people are kind of split on that film, but at least they tried. Like I didn't really like the twist and like the back end. I thought it kind of got a little off the rails. I thought you had a really good kind of like mystery, and I felt like it kind of made a sharp left, which I can appreciate. I just wasn't like a huge fan of it personally, but I'm a fan that they attempted.
Yeah.
Rather than like they could have just made, Amityville 27, like, So anyway.
Yeah. No, I definitely hear what you're saying, man. Steven, how about you, man? What do you think about, old school horror versus, the new stuff, the stuff that we've seen like in the last decade?
Well, in my mind, like the old school horror is ingrained in history. It's there. And it's going to be, in my mind, as great as it always was. Now, does it mean sometimes it looks dated? Yeah, some of them, sure. However, like a movie like Scream that was in '96, that movie feels like today. I know the music's different, stuff like that, but that movie feels like it could have been made like this year. In my mind, it's still so relevant.
Yeah.
But there's others that you'll go back and watch, and I wish I had one in my mind I could tell you, but you're just like, man, this doesn't work. This just doesn't work. But I will tell you this, I always try to stay open minded to the new stuff, right? Because if we don't get new stuff, then we're in trouble. If we don't,
Yeah.
if we don't watch these movies, support them financially by buying a ticket or buying a DVD or streaming, movie online or something, then we risk not getting more efforts and attempts at new horror.
Good point.
So, that's kind of how I look at it. I'm like, I love my old school, but not to the point that I'm blinded by what's the good stuff is of the new era. And movies like The Substance. I'm not a body horror person, but it was brilliant, and I think it was amazing. Hereditary, brilliantly made, but I'll never watch it again. But I appreciate what they did. That's a one-time watch, man. That is it. And then we come to movies like Weapons. I'm not going to get crazy here. Weapons, I did enjoy. I'll just say that. And I know there's more. Of course, then I love the new slashers that are trying to create franchises like Thanksgiving, Hard Eyes. They're trying to establish the new slasher genre. Not genre, but the new class, if you will.
Right.
Of slashers like we got with Scream and all the ones that followed. And in the 80s, it was slashers a dime a dozen, right? So I guess I'll leave it like this. I love my old school, but I also appreciate the new school, and I keep an open mind to all the new stuff. And if it works, I like it. If it doesn't work, I'll be honest and say, yeah, it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But I'm not giving up on the next movie that comes out, right? So that's my approach to watching films now.
Yeah, man. Well said.
That's why I think like A24 and Neon and stuff like that, I think are very important, are very valuable to the horror space. Because they're some of the few studios that are willing to take the chance and risks on things. I mean, even Blumhouse is trying to jump back into the remake space. But you have some of these kind of, I guess, lesser known studios, that are at least trying, like A24. Like, yes, X was, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like a very similar type of film. But it was something, at least it was different. Like, and I've talked about, like, I'd rather them, like, instead of throwing on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you do a similar movie. I get, like, everything's been thought of or whatever, right? You can do similar movies, but make it your own, right? Rather than, I feel a lot of times it's lazy. They're just like, let's just throw on the sticker of, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, rather than making something like X that, was very Texas Chainsaw Massacre-esque. Like, it had the feel of it. It was a very different movie. It wasn't just Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? Before Jake starts yelling at me, I can see him already. Like,
dude, I'm so sorry. My fiance is cracking me up in the chat right now. She just puts, please keep going. I'm so sorry.
Oh, so I
no.
I'm not saying it's the same movie. I'm saying, like, it had that feel of, like, So I just, like, I can appreciate, some of these other, studios kind of doing it. I look at it like music. Every generation, the music's like, man, my parents' music was trash. It's just like their music's better, and then us, we're like, what is this? This isn't music. This is terrible, right?
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like it's always those things. But every once in a while, like, like modern music, I'm not really a big fan of. But every once in a while, I hear a song, I'm like, oh, that's great. That's how I kind of feel about the movies. It's like, it's just they're, even music, everything's sampled nowadays. It's a sample of, like, a classic song and stuff, where it's like, but and a lot of times it's like you didn't need to sample that, right? Like, it's like, you could have left that alone. But every once in a while, it's like, oh man, that's a really good sample, right? Just like in horror, you have things like Evil Dead, right? You have like Evil Dead and stuff like that. That was, that was a remake, but it was great. And then you have The Exorcist, right? Like, where they remake it, and it's just so bad that everyone gets fired, and now they're scrambling. Like,
basically, yeah.
It's so true. Oh my God. Well, look, let me say this too. When I think about the two different sides of it, and you guys all made great points. And then, Stephen, you were saying something too about, at different time periods. I look at it like this, you know, there's a lot of great horror that's been out there. You know what I mean? And there's been a lot of great horror that was around way before I was even born. For myself, I feel lucky that I was even as a youngster, I was pretty open to watching something like Psycho, which was around, 20 years or so before I was even born. But, I was like checking it out and like, hey, a good movie can be a good movie for a long time. Like you said, Steven, just like Scream.
Yep.
But we do, or at least I agree, we have to be open to the possibilities for new horror because we want the genre to continue to be successful. And the more that it's successful, the more that we get people that are fans that become filmmakers and they bring us these new things, just like we had in decades past. And I think that's a very, very important aspect of it. I'm always going to love my 80s movies, my Friday 13th movies and stuff like that. I'm always going to love those things. And a lot of it too is because of the nostalgia as well. I go into something like Weapons. I don't have any nostalgia for it because it's brand new. I have no clue what it's going to be, but now I have this memory of, being impressed and enjoying it with my family and enjoying it, with my buddies talking about it and so forth. So, years from now, kind of, and I wanted to piggyback to you, Jay, because you said something that really struck me. I think it was when we were backstage, 10, 20 years from now, I might look back on this movie and have, certain attachments to it. Jake, I'm going to throw it to you, as we start to wind it down a little bit. You were saying something that made so much sense to me about what you think this movie could be in the future. Do you want to touch upon that a little bit?
Kind of like just it being in like classic status here in a little bit. Is that kind of yeah? I was saying, I walked out of this movie and I said to myself, I think this could be like a The Shining level film at some point in the future. Like we look back on it and we're like, wow, that was really good. Like that was something that changed the face of horror. And I've seen a few movies like that have gone on to just kind of change how to go on to not only change the whole genre but to also like influence so many other movies, like to the point where you have like borderline copycats. Hereditary, I think, is a great example. Like there has been a grief movie like that gets really dark every single year since 2018. Terrifier 2, another great example. They make this movie for no money. It pulls in like over 15 million. You know how many movies have done that in the last couple of years now? I love it. Honestly, it's a good thing more than anything. We want movies to come out that are so good that they influence other people to go out there and make their own, essentially. That's when you have a big hit that holds a lot of weight, that there is something special to it, like it or not. There are plenty of, and I think that's the other thing. You don't have to like a film for it to be considered a classic, but I think you can look at it and respect the fact that it holds weight. I don't like the Blair Witch Project night. It's a hot take. I think it's just three people screaming in the woods at each other. I don't get it. I don't get the love. I think had I seen it in 1999, I'd freaking love it thinking it was real, but knowing it's not, it ruined the whole thing, shattered the illusion for me.
I get that.
Yeah.
But I respect it.
My girl up until like a year ago thought it was still real, and then I ruined it for her, and I've ruined the movie for her. Like,
oh man,
well, they did such a good campaign. They did such a good campaign on because they made a fake website, they made a fake documentary. They did like missing people, missing persons reports and all kinds of stuff. So that's the thing though. You don't get that anymore. You don't get like the creativity on that end and stuff. It's unfortunate. I don't remember who it was. I don't remember who it was off the top of my head, but one of the filmmakers, maybe one of you remember, but they put a tweet or an X, whatever you want to call it, and said everyone wants a Terrifier 2, but no one wants to make a Terrifier, right? Like, and I thought that was like real. Everyone wants the success. Everyone wants the success of Terrifier 2. No shoestring budget, blows up as super success, but no one wants to take a chance on the Terrifier that got traction and gained success that led to the Terrifier 2. And I just think that that's so real because it's just like no one wants to take the chances anymore. And I'm hopeful, right? Like Chris Stuckman, YouTuber turned like, and his movies getting made through Neon, right? Like, I'm hoping that has some success, because then that could pave the way for Jake's, right? That hey, have these aspirations of being a YouTuber turned filmmaker and horror, and that's where a lot of like the original ideas and content is. Yeah, like I'm sure what is it called?
Shelby Oaks.
Shelby Oaks. Or, yeah, there you go. Thank you. I knew it was something. Like I'm sure that it's inspired by numerous horror films, and I'm sure it'll have like very reminiscent of this movie or that movie. But it's just the idea that like, hey, here's something new that is it is inspired. Everything's inspired nowadays, but here's something new. I'm hoping that we get that right. You have who are the YouTubers that made oh man, what is it called?
Talk to me.
Talk to me and bring her back.
There you go. What are those?
Rocka.
Yeah, like you see that, and you saw the success that they had with that, and then now if like Shelby Oak has success, I'm hoping that like that'll inspire more people, or at least fans, to want to crowd fund and help. Like so somebody like Jake, where it's like you're not that big, but it's like like what is he gonna do? We're gonna put all but it's like, oh man, look at Talk to Me, look at Shelby Oaks, look at these things. Like you get that next big, and then it makes it gets people more comfortable with the idea of like, okay, well maybe we do Jake's project, or maybe we do this project.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's interesting about Shelby Oaks. Just on a real quick sidebar, that was the most successful Kickstarter campaign for a horror movie project ever. They ran it at festivals, and Neon picked it up. Like I think that's the thing. If you can get your movie made with like some competent actors, a decent budget, and then run it at film festivals, and it impresses just somebody from one of these indie companies, you'll likely get the distributor. Like, I mean, I'm making it sound way easier than it is, but it's a tough task. But if you can get that funding and make an insane horror movie that like actually plays well at a festival, you can totally get the distributing part. Is like, that's the easy part at that point. But can you make your movie for a big budget? I'm the cat whisperer, apparently.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
I'm trying to.
No, but you're right. You're right though, but I mean, it's all about inspiration. It's all about pushing everything forward, and I think that like right now, with like A24 and Neon and even Blumhouse to a degree, I guess in a way, there are people that are going to take chances on things because they know that if they can get that Talk to Me or Hereditary or whatever, it's like boom. It can just explode and actually stick, I think of movies like in the last decade or the last 15 years, like you said, Jake, you think about people like Robert Eggers, and obviously, Hereditary, you think of what James Wan has been able to do. I mean, they have literally become the new faces of horror. Jordan Peele, like, obviously we love the old school. We love Wes, we love Carpenter, we love Romero and Hooper and so many more. But now we have so many new faces and new voices and new visionaries. And I think it's so exciting because these people were fans of the people that we loved. And you can see that. You can see that. And that's the way it should be. And like I said, it's so exciting when you talk about, and Jake, you're huge about Terrifier. To think how Damien took his time, like you said, Fate. You got to have a Terrifier before you have a Terrifier 2. You got to put in the work. You got to believe in yourself. You got to take a shot. You got to bet on yourself. And sometimes it may not work out. For Damien, it worked out big time. Yeah. And now they can reap the reward of all that. That's a beautiful thing to see. It really, really is. And that's what really makes horror special, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but I think that's what makes it special.
It's also one of the few. It's also one of the few movie genres that has an easy entry point. You know what I mean? I mean, like Blair Witch. Like think of things like Paranormal Activity, right? I mean, you've had things like James Wan made like the first Saw on like $300. Like literally, it was like it was like a promo video in like with his college buddy, right? Like horror is one of the few entry points that if you're creative enough, you don't need a ton of money to do. I mean, obviously, the more money, the better, because it gives you more freedom to do things and stuff. But like, think of a lot of the most iconic horror films and franchises over the years. A lot of them were $10,000. I mean, the first Paranormal Activity, I think, was like 10 grand or something like that, and it, and then became some of 30,000 or something like that, whatever. Right? Like you can, if you have, the creativity and people that believe in kind of the vision, right? And you can put together something pretty decent, right? Like, and we're, like if you're trying to do an act, like the four of us can't just make an action movie. Right? Like,
oh no, that's not gonna work, bro.
You know what I mean? Like, but the four of us could make like a horror movie. I mean, we can make a horror movie just doing what we're doing right now. Like make some like, we all have people that live in our house, girls and stuff like that we could have like standing behind us to like, like
just like Unfriended, right?
All the girls that live in my house, I'll just force them to make movies. So, just the way you worded that kind of freaked me out a little bit. No,
it puts the lotion on its skin and does
put the lotion in the basket. Real quick, too, let me just say,
the pussy magnet, Jake, you are.
Here we go. Hollywood Guy has a channel member anniversary, 22 months, bro. Thank you so much for all the support. We love you, man. Saying it's been almost a year. Yeah, it has. I'm still here. Keep it coming. We need more Lethal Collective. Yeah, there you go. We're on the tour, man.
We are.
I said it was a year-long tour. I was just throwing that out there, but but let me pass it this way now. And Steven, I'll start with you, and then we'll go to Fate and then Jake. So kind of pivoting all of that discussion now back to Scream 7 and particularly. As far as your perception of it, I know we're cautiously optimistic, we're excited, we love it and this and that. But Steven, how do you foresee things panning out for Scream 7? You as a fan, but also, as far as its ability to be successful or not. And it could be story-wise, box office-wise, character-wise, or what have you.
My number one concern right now for Scream 7 comes down to the writing of Guy Busick. What did he give over to Kevin Williamson, and how much could Kevin Williamson have creative freedom to alter components of the script, right? Maybe not do a total rehaul, like you throw it out and basically start over.
Mm-hmm.
But knowing he has this script to work with, I think could be the possible limitations if it doesn't come out good. And what I mean by that coming out good, character development, guys. It's what we always talk about with these last two Scream movies.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get to know these people better. 6 was better than 5, my opinion on that. I think we saw a jump ahead with the core 4 at least. But still, that's my biggest concern is what does Kevin have, or what did he have to work with his film now? What did he have to work with, and how much could he put his own DNA on it, his own fingerprint? Because Kevin's wonderful at character development. Anything he's expert at that, in my opinion.
Yep.
The positive side of it, I think the fact that Kevin Williamson is back, any of the OG fans, of course, we would see it mostly anyway. But you know what? If some of the OG fans weren't happy with the Carpenter storyline, this will bring them back. And they said, you know what? I'm done with this. I think this will bring them back. But in general, having him, huge. Making Neve Campbell the lead, the true lead. And I'm going to be posting a video. You guys probably already have. I'm so far behind, but I thought it was interesting that there's a rumor that came out. Scream News reported it that Sydney now, to the final edit and all that stuff, Sydney's going to have around 40 minutes of screen time, which is fabulous. What she had Scream 1, I think it's Scream 2.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember, but it was like a real full-blown Sydney movie there at 40 minutes. That's amazing. And Gail was supposed to have 20 minutes, I think, or something. Anyway, they did a whole time grid comparing the movies and how the previous time was and how the current time is. And it's much more like the original timelines. So that makes me optimistic, because the more we have them, I think the better the movie's going to be, personally. Story. And I think I'm not worried about the box office. I really not. Maybe I'm being over optimistic, but I still think this is a $150 million movie. I really do. I think that's what it's going to end up around worldwide, around the 150. And I think if they do 150, that at least matches 6. They're good to go. And of course, Scream 8's been greenlit already, so I don't think the studio's worried either. Obviously,
Good point.
so I think it's going to be fine, man. And we'll just have to see how divisive it becomes with fans, the newer fans that started with 5, that was their first time, versus the general audience that goes back like we do. I'll be interested to see that, but I'm not worried. I'm not worried financially at all. I think we're fine. I just want a good story, great mystery whodunit, keep me guessing, and character development. Those are my thoughts on 7. Yeah.
Cool. Fade, how about you, man?
I mean, a lot of like what Craven said. Good character development, good storytelling. I do really feel like this movie is going to be more of a setup film in a lot of ways, especially now that we know Scream 8 is coming. Right? I mean, you would imagine that maybe not the entire, like, I'm not saying that necessarily like the entire movie will just be like laying the, but I think this will kind of be at least a good majority will be laying the groundwork, whether it's the cult route or whatever, to where we go into Scream 8. I mean, obviously they have to have a lot of belief in this if they're already greenlit another sequel. And I mean, the moment that it was announced that Scream 7 was coming, there was talks from, all of these like insider people that are like, no, they want to do a new trilogy with Sydney. So clearly they have a story that they're building. We have 8 greenlit. I'm sure that they already have 9, in the chamber ready to go. It's just, they want to probably wait to see how does, because if this one doesn't do too well, then they'll probably be like, all right, well, let's do 8 and see how that goes. And then go base by base. But I think if we get Scream 7 and Scream 7 starts doing well, I think we'll get the announcement, or at least the rumors, which I also think a lot of that stuff is leaked purposely.
Yeah.
So I think we'll get the like, oh, Scream 9 is greenlit too now. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. But I mean, look, I've been very critical of Scream 5 and 6. I want to be fair. I want to give this movie a shot, like just like Scream 6. I always want to give them a shot, give them a fair chance. But to pretend like I'm not a little concerned would be a lie. So I definitely have my concerns about this. But look, like we talked about earlier, a good movie is a good movie. So if they can make a good movie, I do like that Sydney is you're gonna have Nev and Gail looking like they're gonna carry a good majority of this. So I do think it will be better just naturally, just because we kind of know. It's the comfortability. Yeah. I think we'll kind of just sit back and like, okay, you're kind of like, it's like you'll be a lot more comfortable in this film, I think. So I am excited for that. But what about you, Jake?
Well, I'm really loving some of the updates lately. I actually kind of dig that Sydney's going to have so much screen time. It has me a lot more positive about the film, because I think my biggest concern moving into this, like maybe above everything else, like they can do whatever about the, with the dead characters returning. It's likely going to be a flashback, and also with some of the casting has been kind of whatever, hit or miss. There's things like that I've been worried about. But honestly, the biggest thing for me was I just really don't want another requel film. Like I imagine that they look at Scream 7 as the start of a new trilogy, right? And like we were just talking about, and I could see them just being like, well, let's just do Scream 5 again, but it actually focuses on Sydney. That I'm just not into that, man. We just got that movie basically like 2-3 years ago, and to get it again would just be crazy repetitive and so not the feeling of Scream, which is supposed to be a little more punk rock, stick it to the man, we're gonna do it our way, and I like that about Scream. Every entry I feel should carry that that vibe. So biggest thing I'm hoping for with Scream 7 is that whatever it ends up doing, whatever story it wants to tell, it just commits to the things that this franchise is so great at. At the DNA of Scream, it needs to hit on some horror commentary. It needs to tell a good murder mystery. Maybe even have some good kills here and there too, because I feel like that's kind of a thing that we can improve upon from the past, where maybe Screams 2 and 3 especially get a little more like, kid friendlier, right? That's the producers whispering in the creatives' ears, like, hey, the kids loved that first movie. Let's tone it down a little bit with the kills. Nowadays, we're kind of up, we're making it bloodier. We're making Ghostface scarier. Let's keep that constant, but let's look at modern horror trends through the lens of those older movies. Like, I think that's what 7 can do so well and be really successful at if they go that route.
Well said, man. And I just want to piggyback. I mean, all great points, but it hopefully, and it seems as though at least they're aiming to have it feel like an old school Scream film. If you have Nev Campbell having that much screen time, you just almost assume that there's going to be, like you said, Fade, that comfort. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a character we know, but even maybe more important than that, this is an actress that has proven her ability to play this character well. And, we've all seen films, throughout the years that try to mimic Scream's success or its formula. And you would have other talented actresses, play similar roles to a Sydney or a Gail or whatever, but they never could really reach those levels, especially when you're talking about, those first couple of Scream films. So to see Nev and Courtney, to be able to be in this film for this amount of time, that is a really good sign, because it's almost like, yes, they really are trying to bring us back, at least character wise. And that's the thing about Scream, versus pretty much, all the other slasher franchises. It's character first, not villain. This has always been about characters and the story and the relationships and the chemistry that they have with each other. And
look at how good they built up characters in Scream. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't interrupt you, but seriously. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're right. But they took their time to build up these characters, and that's why they became so beloved. And fortunately, they had the actors and actresses with enough talent, but also in the right roles. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, imagine if you had Matthew in the role of Dewey. Like, that just wouldn't have worked. You know what I'm saying? Like, you had the right actors in the right spots. And even better, especially when you talk about the first 4 movies, even better is you had these actors grow into the roles and bring that experience and so forth. And that was really special to watch too. So I say all that to sound so damn nostalgic, but I'm just really hopeful that this new movie can at least try to hit some of those vibes, because that would be special. One thing I want to throw out to each of you guys, Steven, I'll start with you, and we'll try to do this real quick. I know we're going over, so I apologize, but can you tell it? Well, I'm going to assume 96 is our favorite. Okay. I'm going to assume that. So if you could tell me, number 1, what's your second favorite in the franchise? You don't have to necessarily go into an explanation of why, but whatever that film may be, and your guess on how close 7 could touch that.
Great question, Knight. I love that. Scream 4 is my second favorite.
Okay.
And I do believe that there's a chance that 7 could be on that level, and I really, really hope that it is, because that's the last Scream movie. No, not only the West did, that aside, that's the last Scream movie that actually fooled me on the identity of the killer, the mastermind. I was completely shocked, and I want that feeling again at the very end, right there in that third act. I want to feel that again, and I think I'm worried. That's why I'm a little concerned, as I mentioned, about Guy Busick writing this finale. I don't know where it's going, but I'm going open-minded, as I said, and optimistic, right? But with Kevin back and Sydney and Gail for a lot more screen time than her cameo in Scream 6, I think that it has a shot. This has the best shot of any sequel that's come out since 4, I think, of maybe reaching that level. And if it's not this one, I really hope that you say bye to Guy and Kevin Williamson gets to write the movie for 8 and direct it. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yes, I think there's a chance. There is a chance.
All right.
That's a high bar for me.
I hear you on that, man. I hear you on that. Fade, how about you, man?
I mean, for me personally, no, I don't think any film will ever surpass the original. But as far as being like my second favorite, I definitely think that that's open. As far as like what takes it right now, like for me personally, it's probably in order, right? I mean, 3 and 4, I think it kind of depends on the mood, like where I'm at with that. But like for me, I think it's like 1, 2. I'd probably like just for argument's sake go 3, 4, 5, 6. But like, I do think like 3 and 4 again, depending on am I feeling more Sydney conclusive story today, or am I feeling more Jill psychotic today, right? Like it's like. So I just for me those kind of switch. Like I just thought the first 2 were really well done. Part of it, I'm sure, that plays into it is nostalgia, and whatnot. But no, I hope. I mean, dating back to Scream 5, I was hopeful that would be the one that takes the cake. Like that's the way, and it's like it keeps missing the mark. So I'm hoping that this one, or at least one of these, if this is the new trilogy, which I really do think it's going to be. I think they're going to do the Halloween round. I think this is going to be a very Sydney and Gale film, and then you'll see the transition into Sydney's daughter and stuff like that, as you saw with like Allison and stuff. But I'm hoping that at least one of these, if it's not 7, hopefully it's 8 or 9, right? That's the one that takes like that one clearly is the second best movie, because that would be a testament to not only the franchise, but just such a late installment period, because it's like how many 7th, 8th, 9th films are the second best in the franchise. Usually once you start, you think of all the franchises that have had that many movies, usually they start either becoming something else. Even things like Fast and the Furious became a completely different franchise, right? Like
they went to space.
Yeah, they did.
But I'm saying, like, you look at franchises that have had long, mini installments, they usually kind of fall off the rails a little bit. But if Scream can kind of stay true, that'd be awesome. But Jake?
Nothing's going to touch the original. I think it would be naive to say that. It would be awesome, but that's a top 10 horror film of all time. Is the original Scream. That's how I look at it. So I think the sequels are all fun, but personally, and call me juvenile, whatever, but if I'm going to watch a slasher movie, I want to see some bloody kills. And unfortunately, 2 and 3, I like them, but the kills are all just very lackluster in those films. But I don't know, maybe that's a hot take, but I want to see some blood. I want to see some guts. 4, 5, and 6 all at least have that, which is why I think I'm just always going to put them above 2 and 3 for that very, very simple reason, on top of other things too. But 4 and 6, I think those are my favorite sequels. I just love them. They're a ton of fun, crazy kills, and some fun little shocks and surprises. Even if 6 has, maybe a lackluster killer reveal, there's things about it that had me like gasp in the fucking theater, dude. A ghost face revealed in the opening scene. I was over the moon about that, dude. That was awesome. But I think if there's anything that I want from a new sequel, like what can 7 do to maybe earn its place as a Scream film? I want to be shocked and surprised. I don't even care at what point or where it happens. That was the thing. That's why I love 6. That's why I'm so forgiving of the killer reveal being so lackluster, is because there are things about it that are still shocking and surprising. And at the base, that's what I want from a good Scream movie. So far, all of them have a good shock. All of them have a good surprising moment that's really well done. Can 7 find that? If not in its killer reveal in its opening scene, in whatever they're going to do with the legacy cast, I'll be sold on that alone.
That's an interesting way to put it. You just made me think about these sequels and how you're right, they all have like a moment where it's like, whoa, all right, and the question is, with a 7th film, can you continue to do that? Can you continue to fool an audience that is ready for this? We're like ambassadors for this freaking franchise, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
so yeah, that's an interesting way to put it, and I totally agree with you. For me personally, I always err towards 4 as my favorite after the original, and I'm echoing a lot of what you guys say. I think it's possible that it could get in the ballpark. If they can have a good story. You got these characters that we love that are going to be more present. If that can be somewhat cohesive and work, which I think it can with Kevin being, behind everything, and have that moment, like you said, Jake, have that moment that's like, wow, oh, wow, that's cool. You know what I mean? So I do think it's possible, and of course I hope for that as a fan of the franchise, but only time will tell.
Every movie, like outside of the original Scream, every movie is I think has its merits, but like every movie also has major flaws and issues to where I don't think it's something that, like, you look at movies in other franchise stuff where it's just like you're not going to be able to do better than that, right? Like, and that's how I feel with Scream. But all the other sequels, I absolutely think you could do better, right? Like, I absolutely think that there is a version of a Scream out there that is yet to be made even the general consensus, which because the general consensus, like, Scream 1 is amazing, all the other ones everyone else kind of has varying opinions on. I do think that there is a film out there that is yet to be made that we all just go, that's it, right? Like
that's the one. That's what I want.
That's the one, right? And
right.
I mean, obviously, there's always going to be the cool kids that are like, nah, like, but I think
it was mid.
Yeah, it was whatever, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's always going to be the cool kids, but like, I think that there is a Scream that is yet to be made that everybody goes, this is the best one. Like, again, like we've talked about with things like Resident Evil, or not Resident, I don't know why I keep saying Resident Evil Dead. Evil throw me off. Evil Dead, even like the Friday the 13th remake with Jared Padalecki, right? I thought that was good. Like, there's been some that are like really good that are even like you could argue with the original. Like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What was it? The 2003
one with Jessica Biel.
Yeah, like that one. Like, dude, like I actually like that one better than the original, and I'm a huge fan of the original. I just think that one is just, for like a modern horror, I think is great. So, can you? Yes. Will they? I just don't have the faith with this current regime. I don't. But that could change, right? Like, people get better, people improve. Like, I'm a big sports guy, sports channels, right? You work on your craft. You get it, you figure it out. So hopefully 7 is the one that they figure out. But
I was just gonna say, I think it's it's crazy after Jigsaw and Spiral that the same writers wrote Saw X. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that could be what's happening here with Scream 7, and I really hope it is.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Example. Go ahead, Steven.
I was gonna say, when Fate was talking about that, I didn't want to interrupt, but that was actually on my mind when he was talking about how hard it is. I said, well, Saw 10 pulled it off because it's my favorite sequel. And that was the 10th movie.
Hey, well, think about this, man. Think about Halloween 2018. Coming off of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 and the fiasco that was with the hobo walking around. I mean, who would have thought we could have come back from that and at least have a film where critics, were on board with it. A lot of the hardcore fans were on board with it, and even people that didn't love it were like, okay, all right, that was all right. You're talking about a franchise at that point that is almost 50 years old, 45 years old or whatever. So
that's right.
It is possible. It is possible. So anyways,
they followed it up with 2 duds. God.
Okay, all right.
Oh, let's don't go there.
Hey, you see, I tried to drive the train away from that.
I know,
you're not getting away with that. You can't bring up that garbage.
Halloween Kills, man. One of my favorite sequels to the franchise.
I love Halloween Kills.
18 was great, though. 18 was great, though.
There you go. Okay, we got it on record. There you go.
I like 18. I've always said I like 18.
Real quick before we head on out, I just want to say thanks to you guys that are here, and also a shout out. We got Nightfall, who came in a little bit ago. Channel member anniversary, the big 2-5, and we missed you too, man. Thank you so much for being here and all the support. And look at this, we got Steven too, 33, the double 3.
33, man.
You are the night watch.
He's just flexing. That's the only reason I left that comment. that was just
What?
that was just a flex. Why are you doing that to him?
You're the
Hey,
best.
man. Hey, yeah, what can I say? I love it. Yeah.
And Hollywood guy, Jake, you gotta listen to this. Hollywood guy said Lethal Collective presents Chicken Man 2. Make it happen, Jake. There
Oh
you
my
go.
God, I want to so bad.
There you go. There you go. Let's see. Who else? I thought I saw something else here. Here, I'll leave you guys with this. Okay, so Jay Tinsel came in with a great question too. Does Weapons rank as a top 25 film of the last 25 years? Now, Fade, I know you haven't seen it. We're not going to talk any spoilers, but for Jake and Steven, Jake, I'll start with you. What do you think?
Tentatively, yes, for me, because I don't see anything beating it this year. Like, there's a lot of good movies still to come, but I just don't think anything is going to top the originality of this film for me.
Yeah. Do you think it could be, and I know this is a tough question to answer, but do you think it could be in your top 25 horror films of the last 25 years?
I think I tentatively yes. Like I'm leaning towards yes because I'll say the other thing. There's a lot of lists going around right now that's like best horror films of the last 25 years that I don't agree with at all. Like they're putting movies like, and I like this movie, Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson at like the top spot, and I'm like. I know.
Really?
I'm like, it's a good movie, but not the best film of the last 25 years. That's wild. So, like, for me, Weapons, I think, would be on that list. I don't know if it would be number one, but I think it would be there. I mean, compared to something like Saw or The Descent, that's above Weapons for me personally. But I think that it's on the list. It's somewhere there.
Cool. Steven, how about you, man? Do you think that Weapons could possibly be in your top 25 horror films of the last 25 years?
Oh boy, that's a. I'm glad it's 25 instead of like top 5.
Well,
or
yeah,
10,
right,
or 15.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna steal Jake's language here. I'm gonna be tentatively leaning towards yes, actually, because there's something about this movie, unlike a Hereditary I mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
I want to watch it again.
Yeah,
I just do. I think there's more things there that I did missed. That a second watch would be even better. I think it has the potential to be right now on my list. Yeah, for 25 years. Yeah, I can think of a few others like Jake did that I would put, but I got 25 slots. It's a lot of slots. So yeah,
that's a lot of movies that have came out. You know what I mean? Like
I know. That's why it's hard.
Like listed out. I mean, you're dating back to 2000.
2000. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of really good horror movies.
I mean,
like
Scream 4 is in there for me, obviously. There's a bunch of others.
The problem with that, obviously, I haven't seen Weapons. So, like, but the problem with like those kind of things is like, especially over that time span. Like, if you said like, top 5 this year or something like that, I think that would be easier to deduce. But like. Problem is like in general, like you could like no one would probably have the same list. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I mean, if you went through all of the film over the last 25 years, also to me, right? Like, and this question for you guys, I haven't seen it, but also to me, like, what's the rewatchability, right? Because you get a lot of movies. I know Weapons,
it's very high,
very rewatchable.
Yeah, I know, but I know like Weapons has like a big twist and stuff like that, right? But the problem is like a lot of those movies in general, like in the moment, we're like, "Woo, man, that might be the best movie in the last decade." But then you rewatch it, it's just like it doesn't have the same luster. You know what I mean? Like to me, like it'd have to be for me personally. It'd have to be movies that like Scream. I could watch a million times. I know the spiel. I know what the reveal is. I know everything. And I can still watch it, right? There's a lot of movies like that. Yep. Again, I haven't seen Weapons, so I don't know either way. But I'm just saying, like in general, like I see a lot of people that I feel like are in the moment with films. You know what I mean? Which I get. You're living in the moment. It's kind of hard not to be in the moment,
right?
Then they'll like throw out, like Jake was saying, like that Scarlett Johansson movie's at the top. It's like really, it's the best movie over the last 25 years, or you just like kind of living in the moment type.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the problem. Like feel a lot of people are just get caught up in the moment rather than
Well,
take a step
Recency
back.
bias.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I
Go
can I
ahead,
say
Dave.
one thing about weapons though? Like
Absolutely.
honestly, I feel like I like it for the same reasons I like Scream in a lot of ways because you're seeing I don't want to say what, but there's I caught clues throughout the whole movie that are like leading towards what the ultimate reveal is. And I will also say again, without spoiling anything, there's little pieces of the puzzle all over the place, which like to me, that's why I like rewatching Scream. Cause it's like, there's things that we're hearing Billy and Stu say to each other that it's like, oh shit, you know, hearing that conversation, knowing the twist, it completely values the way we think about it and we interpret it. And there's things about this movie that's the exact same way. Like from the opening of the film, like going all the way back there, I can think of things where I'm like, oh, no way they did that. You know, like I won't, no spoilers, but there's things in this movie that are totally like that. It's a very, very, very rewatchable film.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, you know, if I was to say, I mean, I think my answer would be just like you guys. You know, tentatively, I could say it's possible, you know, because 25 films from 2000 on to now, there's a lot of possibilities. But I will say this, you know, I remember when I first saw and I thought this movie was something. This was special to me. The feeling I had and the audience reaction, my reaction, and now we've seen where that's gone. I had that same feeling with The Conjuring. I had that same feeling with Hereditary. Of course, in those at the time, I was like, man, okay, I'm gonna. This is gonna be on my list to watch again. And then after a couple more watches, you know, it would slowly, you know, move up more, you know, to the point where one of my favorite movies of all time is Hereditary or The Conjuring, you know, or Saw, you know. So I think with this film, you know, it's going to take a few more rewatches. Thankfully, like you guys said, like Jake, you said, the rewatchability is high, man. Like even the second time I watched it to do my video, I was like, oh yeah. And that's pretty cool, you know. So I definitely think it could possibly, at least from my own list, be in that top 25. You know, it definitely has a good chance, I will say. So that's cool. It really
Wasn't
is.
Pedro Pascal supposed to be in Weapons?
Yep.
A ton of different people were supposed to be in this movie. Yeah.
Yes.
I remember seeing something about that, like that he was supposed to be in it, which honestly, I'm really curious. Again, I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know how well the acting would, but I mean the cast looks great. But I wonder if with all the Pedro Pascal fatigue, which I think is ridiculous, like let the man, the dude's killing it, like right?
Yeah, he is.
Let's give the man his flowers, right? Like, you know, I get, you know, you get tired of seeing the same guy, but that just shows his range. Anyway, I don't want to turn this into a Pedro rant, but I wonder what this movie would have been if he was in it with all the narrative of the fatigue. I'm not saying it wouldn't have been a good movie, but would the general perception be, you know, would the general perception be different if he actually was in this movie? Again, that doesn't mean that it wouldn't have been a good movie. It's just right now the hype is like, oh my God, this is great, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But would that conversation still be the same conversation, generally speaking, right? If Pedro Pascal played, you know, the Thanos role.
The Thanos role. Yeah, it would have been interesting, man. I would have been interested in seeing it. But you know, also they were going to have Elizabeth Olsen or Rooney Mara in Julia Garner's role. You know what I'm saying? So you just never know. But I will say this without obviously any spoilers. I think all of the actors, I think they did a great job. And the story, this is an example of how the story strengthened the actors, but the actors also strengthened the story. Like they were in the right spots, you know. And Alden Ehrenreich, man, who would have thought? I mean, mustache and all. I mean, I loved him. And you know, Austin Adams. I mean, it's just it was a good movie. It really was.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. All right, guys.
Watch the Fate.
Yes, you do have to see it, man.
You gotta watch it, bro.
Dude, yeah.
Well, I haven't had a chance to go, and you know, I want to, you know, I mean, I could watch it if I want to, but I want to actually go and watch it. If you guys know what I mean, I don't want to. I do. I want to give it the respect of actually going to see it rather than the alternative. So
absolutely, man.
100%, brother.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we're going to get ready to end it there. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and this was a lot of fun. And as always, just getting a chance to talk movies and Scream is always a blast. For you guys in the chat, thank you, Erica. We have Val here. We have Julie. You guys, thank you so much for putting the links in the chat, obviously for Jake and Fate and obviously Steven's channel. Make sure you guys, if you're not already, I know a lot of you guys are, but make sure that you guys are supporting them, subscribe, follow them, and you will not be sorry that you did. And where are we heading next? We're heading to Steven's channel next week.
We'll be back on my channel next Monday.
Yeah, baby. So
Can't
look out
wait.
for that.
Yep. I'll be setting it up this week.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So we will catch you guys next time. Take it easy. And as always, the collective has spoken. Peace.
Peace.
Bye, guys.